Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 708th edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into the show tonight. Joining me right now, he is the brand new chairman of the National Premier Soccer League, and this is Mr. Stephen Wagoner joining me tonight. Stephen, first of all, congratulations on the appointment. Very happy for you that now you're running the entire league. What was it like for you to come in and take over this position and just oversee the entire league?
Absolutely. Well, hey, Daniel, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, I think for one, the great thing, you know, I've been around for a while, so that's the good news. I know the staff, I know a lot of the team members and so forth, and so, you know, I'm really excited about the opportunity. I think there's going to be a lot of great things that we're working on, and you know, we're excited. We've got a virtual owners meeting coming up in the next month, and a lot of exciting things to go over with membership. So it should be a fantastic year coming up.
It really should be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do, pushing the National Premier Soccer League forward into a new era. Of course, we do have to talk about your predecessor, who stepped down, obviously, which I didn't expect. It was a shock to me. And this is the statement that the league came out with. Kenneth Farrell has resigned and stepped down from the board of directors as well. What has Kenneth done with that position with the NPSL, and where do you think you can either equal towards him or maybe go a little further?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Kenny's done a lot of great things for the league, and so, you know, we're thankful for his time. You know, I think as far as moving forward, you know, what I'd like to look on and look at are a couple different things. One is, and this will be exciting for membership, re-looking at our ownership structure as far as how that works with the league. You know, I think there's some exciting ways that we can position the NPSL and be a little bit unique from other leagues. I think the other thing is, you know, relationships at higher levels, whether it's professional teams, you know, professional leagues, those types of things. What I've found is a lot of our teams are looking for either something more for players, and then for the team owner that has a very successful year, they're looking for other opportunities. And naturally, you know, the NPSL has done a great job with its, you know, amateur platform, and but, you know, factually, we don't have a PLS level league above us. And so I think these are some things that we'll definitely explore in the short term that I think can be, you know, exciting for membership.
And currently the way that NPSL is structured, as you said, through the amateur levels in American soccer, obviously with so many conferences, so many regions, will there be any changes to that you can speak of? If not, I understand, but do you feel maybe there's a change of the structure that needs to happen?
And when you just structure, are you talking about the makeup of the conferences right now?
Correct. The conferences and the regions and how it is. Will there be like an additional region? Will there be like maybe a reduction of regions? Will you smush them together, or will you make it bigger?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, you know, what we try to do is obviously we're looking for quality over quantity in a good way. And then naturally in each conference, we're looking to play 6 to 8 teams per conference. That gets you anywhere from 10 to 14 games, you know, in a regular season. And so I think for us, we'll look at the landscape. And, you know, again, we still got a lot of interest from teams, you know, applying and to be fair, in some scenarios, it's more than one team in one area. And so that could help with different conferences. But so I wouldn't see anything dramatic as far as where, you know, how the number of conferences, but it's definitely something we'll continue to reflect on, you know, and try to keep strengthening it, you know, each conference.
How impressive have you been, or impressed, I should say, have you been with the quality of play within the NPSL? You know, you know, certain areas of the nation, especially in Texas, I have to say it's always been a knock 'em out, drag 'em out fight between the Texas clubs in the southeastern, southwestern region of the NPSL, especially with some of the Oklahoma clubs that are nearby, north of Texas. You know, when you see that, do you also see that with the other conferences that goes on throughout a league season?
Absolutely. You know, I think that there's a couple indicators that I look at. One is, and this is, I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but but we always typically go the furthest in the Open Cup, right? We always have teams that are always competing at a very high level, and go very far. Whether it's El Farolito, we've had Virginia Dream, make a deep run. And so I think what we're finding is, the NPSL provides one of the most cost-effective platforms to run a premium product, on a national stage, and I think that's a great opportunity for, team owners and then obviously, players to develop and, have other opportunities. But, to answer your question directly, I see that in the areas that you're talking about. I see some really strong teams in the Mid-Atlantic, the New York area, Florida, California's got some great competition. And so, we're really excited to see what this year holds.
That's fantastic. And of course, can't wait to see what's going to happen. If I can ask you this, obviously Major League Soccer announced they're going to switch to the international calendar. Will that also be considered like in a board of directors meeting or in a league-wide meeting that maybe there'll be a change as well? And if that does happen, will there be an extension of the regular season?
Absolutely. We look at continuously. One of the things, the West Coast, a lot of the teams on the West Coast, they actually start playing in February, March. And part of that's just the weather, right? You go out to the Midwest, that'd be very challenging, and say, hey, we're going to start playing at certain times. But as an example, whether it's that Major League Soccer and their calendar, or it's naturally the college game, they're looking at potentially expanding the season for Division I men's soccer, right? And that could potentially go year long. So I think what we need to do is continue to be innovative, continue to evolve, continue to reflect on the product that we have. But what I could see is naturally we a lot of our teams have some very good college players, and you can see that with the MLS draft, and a lot of the players that played through the NPSL system were drafted over the last couple of days. But I also think for the players that are maybe not in college or former pros or in between contracts, I think this is another great platform for them to showcase their skills.
Exactly. Absolutely. Just to talk about the Open Cup, actually, several clubs from the NPSL who were not given bids by US Soccer. As you know, they've changed their format now. It's no longer if you make a certain platform or a certain plateau in the NPSL Cup playoffs that you would automatically go to the Open Cup. Like I said, it's now changed up. Is that something that you're happy with the change, or do you want to see a different way for NPSL teams to make the Open Cup for qualification, or do you feel this is the right way to go?
No, that's a great point. Selfishly, we always want as many slots as we can, right? One of the things that I think is, it would be very exciting, and obviously the Open Cup is one of the most special, I would say, events in the country's history. And I was just on Sirius XM radio, and we're talking about it with with those guys, and it's like, hey, how cool would it be for an amateur team to go and win the whole thing? Like, wouldn't that be a great opportunity? So that I think that's one of those things we always want to have more slots. The other thing that I think could be exciting, is finding ways to play other high-level teams in other leagues, right? Because I would argue the NPSL has some great teams. I would argue some other leagues have some, and then naturally those teams sometimes geographically are actually closer than league games. And so how cool would that be to have a platform, and kind of explore a platform where those teams can play other high-level teams in their area that also in other leagues. And I think that's really what the fans want to see. They want to see high-level games, right? They want to see games against other professional clubs, and then obviously the best teams and the most storied teams in the country competing against each other.
No, absolutely. And, that's what we're hoping for, competition coming to the NPSL. And like I always say, I always enjoy talking with the owners, the head coaches, some of the players who have played on these clubs in the NPSL. It's just really amazing to see how much they enjoy being in this league. And the competition is always very, very fierce.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Sure. I was saying how the competition is always fierce in the NPSL, no matter what. Because whenever I have my guests on from your league, whichever clubs it is, if it's an owner or a head coach or a player, they are just really, really into playing a league season in the NPSL. I'm just saying the competition is very fierce.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that's really cool, right? There's different ways to go about building an experience for fans. There's different way about building experience for for the players. And again, like you look at, I'll just name some names. You look at Motown, fantastic runs. They made, in the last with the national championship. I think the last 4 years they've been in it 2 or 3 times. El Farolito, right? That's another great example. That's a fantastic group. And I can't wait to see what they do this year. So this is something where I could probably name another 5 or 6 more. Again, Virginia Dream had an Open Cup run. They beat the Richmond Kickers and ended up playing Loudoun United and did very well there. So I think this is a platform where whether it's for players or for team owners, this is a fantastic platform to showcase their products in local communities and have a lot of opportunity to play and see things how it goes at the next level.
Exactly. Just talk about El Farolito. I thought they were going to have a very memorable season, I should say. Undefeated in the regular season, undefeated throughout the playoffs until they got to Hickory and hosted the final at Kezar Stadium. And I was thinking, nothing against Hickory. I mean, they were a great club, but still, though, I had my money on El Farolito having an undefeated season and hoisting their second consecutive championship. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But, the first ever John Mata Cup winners going the furthest in the last Open Cup this season. How proud were you of El Farolito as a whole? And at the same time, going on CBS Sports Network after the match of the Open Cup final, being honored because they were the inaugural John Mata Cup winners.
Sure. It's very challenging to be competitive. And I can say that from experience. And I've been in the league since 2013. First originally with DC United U23s and then with Virginia Beach City FC for the last, better half 10, 12 years. And we've had some great runs. We went to the Open Cup, but then, things happen and the game changes or the landscape changes. And then, a year or two later, it's like, hey, how do you keep making things fresh and exciting? And, so for a group like that, a lot of respect to what they're doing because it's very challenging to compete at a high level, let alone do it consistently. And, I think they handle it very well. And obviously they're able to host. So it's one of those things you'd like to see them win. And obviously I think Hickory, no slight to them. They had a fantastic season. They're having sellout crowds and a lot of exciting things in the NPSL last year.
Yeah, it really, really was. So for some of us that are not familiar with yourself, obviously, are you part of a club in NPSL to become chairman or you're coming from an outside area?
Yeah, so I'm Virginia Beach City FC. We're founded in 2013. We've been in the league ever since. So, very, very familiar. We've seen, all of it. I tell you what, the landscape and how it's evolved over the last, 15 plus years. And, all of the exciting times from, with the Cosmos and Chattanooga, Detroit City FC, all of those groups that, we've seen from the original. And some have made some great leaps. They've gone into USL Championship, MLS Next Pro, USL 1. So we've had the opportunity to see, a lot of exciting times with the NPSL.
So how many new clubs are coming in for the 2026 season? I think I've seen 1 or 2 at this point in time, but so far, how many are coming in? And can you share with us any more that might be coming into the league for 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a targeted approach. We've got, full-time staff that are going through with, the interview process and, making sure that we bring in teams. I think one of the things that we really look for are strong ownership groups, right? It's really easy to bring in teams. And I think it's really easy to bring in teams. The challenge here is retention, right? And that partly could be on the league. I think that's partly also on the operator and their own market. And so right now, we've got still a handful of clubs that we're, going through and vetting. And, we're really excited to see, how all this turns out. But we, even full conferences. So, I can't give you too much detail until it's public. But example, like Hub City was just announced this past week. And, I think they're going to be doing some different interviews and, podcasts and things like that. And, they're actually somewhat close. They're playing in our conference. So, out of Hagerstown, Maryland. So, hats off to them and exciting for them to be in part of the NPSL.
That is fantastic. I cannot wait. I can't wait for a brand new season of the National Premier Soccer League. As you know, I am the home for the NPSL Soccer Show. Hopefully get some of those clubs that have qualified for the Open Cup to come on in and get ready for that first round draw. How happy were you to see that they announced the first round of the Open Cup already, and the entire schedule as well, so early because it's a World Cup year next year? And what will you do when this World Cup does come?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's great that if I remember correctly, and if I understand it correctly, there's more pathways than ever to get in the Open Cup, and so obviously, selfishly, we take pride in everything that goes through the NPSL, but I also recognize there's a lot of our members and teams that play in other state association leagues and other leagues around the country, and they're able to get to different pathways to the U.S. Open Cup. And so I think that one of the challenging things is just the number of weeks in order to get these games in, because obviously U.S. Soccer is having a reverse engineer to make all this work. So we're excited to see how that turns out. And as far as the World Cup coming and this summer in 2026, I think it's going to be very, very exciting. I'm hoping that not only does it continue to grow the game of soccer, and I think we'll see probably one of the largest investments that's ever taken place in the United States coming up this summer. I'm hoping we'll see that in our all of our markets for all of our teams. Small markets, larger markets, whether it's fan engagement, the types of players, community involvement and activation with whether it's youth clubs or local partners. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting time this summer for soccer in the United States.
It really will be, Stephen. I appreciate your time. I really am grateful you showed up tonight. Thank you once again. Congratulations once again, the new chairman of the National Premier Soccer League. I hope you have a good evening and good luck with your new leadership role.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much. Feel free to reach out anytime if we can help with anything.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Stephen. Have a good night.
You got it.
Is the new chairman of the National Premier Soccer League, Stephen Wagoner, and he's going to do a great job, of course, with the National Premier Soccer League and running it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait to see what's going to happen, and it should be exciting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into what we're here for tonight, and that is reviewing the amateur clubs who have qualified for the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, grueling through 3 or sometimes just 2, 3, or 4 full rounds of the Open Cup. And we are waiting for my first guest tonight, coming from Cambridge, Massachusetts, in Mr. Paul Correia of CD Faialense. Now, the club sounds Spanish, probably a Costa Rican section of the country, and over in Massachusetts, as they went through 3 rounds of qualification, as we get ready for just a lot of fun things to talk about here. So we're waiting for Mr. Paul Correia to join us. Let's just go ahead and pop this up until he does show up, and hopefully he will. And as you can see, they perform in the Bay State Soccer League in Massachusetts, and they come from Cambridge, Mass. And they had that first round bye, so they didn't play anybody until they took on Project Football at home, and that was a 5-0 destruction as they took care of their opponents. And then they took on one of the powerhouses of amateur soccer, and that was Brockton FC United in Brockton, and they took away a 1-goal victory from the road match. And then they returned home, and I forgot to type that in, that's my fault, as they defeated Lone Star GPSE by a final of 5-2. So, as you can see right there, they are ready to go for the Open Cup again. They did qualify last year. This is their second consecutive qualification for the Open Cup for now 2026. And so CD Club Deportivo Faialense they're in the first round of the U.S. Open Cup, and it's exciting and it's a lot of fun, and can't wait to see what they're going to do. Just waiting for Mr. Paul Correia to join us tonight. so he can come on in and he can just join us to talk about and as I'm trying to contact him, of course, trying to get him to come on and hopefully we can have him on 1, 2, 3. So we can get him to come on and he can join us. Just want to join us, talk about the club. And of course, we all know how good some of those clubs are in the state of Massachusetts as we get ready to talk more about these Open Cup qualifiers. You know, if I talked about it in my show last night to talk about the Open Cup, it's really been tremendous. It's just been really tremendous how these clubs are fighting, scratching, and clawing in 4 rounds. Sometimes they go into 3 rounds. Just all of a sudden this year, they go into 2 rounds to see if they can make it to the plateau of American soccer, and that is the U.S. Open Cup. 16 amateur clubs qualified through 2 to 3 to 4 rounds, and going into the Open Cup this is what you want. And, you know, I get angry sometimes when I talk to some people who are soccer fans, who are also football fans, you know, and they say, well, you know, well, there's real magic in the FA Cup. You don't see what goes on over there. Like there's a plumber, there's a carpenter, an electrician, schoolmaster. You know, they go out there and they perform and they go ahead and you know, put themselves out there to play against the big boys, whether it be in League Two or League One or the Championship or even the Premier League, if they get that opportunity to play against the big boys. And so, while I mean, you know, there is magic in the Open Cup, folks. There is magic. You just have to look for it. And I feel like some of them are slapping the Open Cup in the face, and they're slapping us in the face because they think that there's no real magic going on. Well, no, that's not true. Christos FC, bunch of guys who are, you know, trying to get out of work so they can train and then get out there and perform at their best. Owned by a discount liquor store business in Maryland, just outside of Baltimore. And they had the run of their lives. And when they took on DC United in the 4th round, the one goal by Amadou Kansé on a free kick blast hit the back of the net, beat the keeper, and even though that was designated as a DC United home game in Boyd's, Maryland, you know, I got to tell you, and I'm being told he'll be coming on soon. And hopefully we'll have him on. And, you know, that magical moment, in my opinion, that magical moment was huge. It was big. Huh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, just he's contacting with me. He's talking to me. Uh, and of course, I made a mistake. I screwed up the times. My bad. My fault. And hopefully he'll come on. And I made a mistake. You know, you're trying to make this work. And maybe we can get him on. Okay, great. We're going to have him on later tonight at 9 o'clock. So, as always, I do these mistakes too. I make these mistakes sometimes with the times. I had him on for 8:15, but then I told him 8:30. I mean, I had him on for 8:15. I told him 8:30, and I screwed up because I have somebody else on coming on very soon as well. But anyway, so that's my fault. That's all my fault there. I made the mistake. Look, it happens. I try to be perfect. I know sometimes, I know we're not perfect. I make the mistake. And so, you know, look, it works out. It works out anyway because I had not really a lot of guests tonight. That's okay. I try to get everyone on as much as I can. And, you know, look, I try my best to get these teams on. So we're going to have Paul Correia on at 9 p.m. I want him on at 9. I want him on because I want to talk about the club. And, you know, look, I want to give these teams in the amateur levels that opportunity to get the spotlight on them. That's what this show is about. This show is about you. It's not just MLS. It's not just the United Soccer Leagues. It's not just the NPSL. It's not just the, the NISA. It's also the amateur clubs. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. We are all a part of this great game called football, called soccer. If we do not have amateurs, then we don't have professionals. If we don't have professionals, then we don't have fans. If we don't have these amateur teams, we don't have fans either. We need to give everyone and anyone that opportunity to go out there and perform. That's what we need. That is what we have to have. This is the idea of what we have to do here. Because why? Because I'll tell you why. Because if we don't have these amateur teams get their opportunity in the Open Cup, then what's the point of it? It makes no sense. We need to have these teams get their opportunity in the Open Cup and face these professional teams. We have to get ready for it. We have to be prepared for it. And we need to talk about the road to get to the Open Cup. It is important. It is exciting. And that's why I have this show. Sure, there's the cup.us, and they cover the amateur leagues as well with the Open Cup qualification. But, you know, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, that's why I want to talk about these games. I want to talk about these teams. I want to talk about how important it is for us to have these games happen. How important is that these games have happened and they're ready to go? And so let's go ahead. Let's get ready for it. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun. And I am excited to talk about these Open Cup matches and these teams who are ready to go for the Open Cup. And now I'm going to wait now for my next guest, and this is coming up hopefully very soon. Jerome Joseph. He runs the Florida Badgers FC as they qualified for the U.S. Open Cup. And hopefully he'll be on with us very soon. And, talking about their last match, and that last match was against Miami United. That, my friends, was an amazing match. Because I'll tell you why. Because no one expects them to lose. Miami United, a perennial Open Cup qualified club in the amateur levels, whether it be the NPSL when they were at a time or on their own right now. No one expects them not to qualify until it happened. This qualification tournament. They got knocked off by Badgers FC. To see that happen in front of my face on the computer, watching it, was just so surreal. It's like, what? Them? Knocked out in the last game, in the last round? Never. They did. It happened. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, they deserve all the credit in the world. And this is their route to the Open Cup. They are in the UPSL Florida South Zone Section 2. And they reside in Boynton Beach, Florida. First round bye, of course, that they were given by USOC. Then they took on Fort Myers FC in a 1-0 victory. Then they came home for round 3 to take on O'Shea's FC by a final of 5-0. And then they went down to south, all the way south, to face Miami United. It was 3-3 through regulation. And then in extra time, they took on Miami United, and they got those 2 extra goals to make it 5-3, and they qualified for the Open Cup. They qualified for the Open Cup. They moved on. It was fantastic to watch, fantastic to see, and, to see them defeating a perennial Open Cup qualified team in Miami United. This qualification round, we had cup sets all over the place. Chicago House got knocked off. Verengung Erzgebirge of eastern Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, they got knocked off. Miami United, we already said, they got knocked off. We're seeing perennial clubs who have done great. And all of a sudden, they just fall apart right in front of us. Who would have thought? But that's the risk you run when you do these Open Cup qualifications. When you think you're the top dog all the time, and you just continue to qualify and qualify and qualify. Well, you know what? All of a sudden, that 1 year, you don't qualify for the Open Cup, and you're done. Yesterday's show, Lansdowne Yonkers taking on the New York Renegades. And Lansdowne Yonkers, who also is a perennial Open Cup qualified club, they got knocked off by the Renegades. And now it looks like the New York Renegades are becoming a power now, not just out on Long Island, but in New York City, the New York area, the New York City tri-state area. They're becoming a power. We're seeing now these clubs, how they are doing it and why they're doing it and how they're doing it. It is amazing. It is a lot of fun. And if we are going to talk about it, and hopefully we can give praise to those clubs that come in here and just go ahead and just do the job. That's all we want. We want them to do the job. It's just so huge when you make it to the Open Cup. It is absolutely incredible when they make it to the Open Cup. And then we can celebrate them and share the celebration with everyone else. And like I said, these people have a lot of hats. It's not just their club they have to do. It's not just they're coaching the club or they own the club or they probably make the lunches. They probably get the drinks. They probably get the Gatorades. They've got a lot to do at home as well. And that's why they wear a lot of hats. And, you hopefully, you get them in and you get ready for a big moment. But unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't work. And, you try to let them know that, this show is for them too. You try to let them know that this show is for them as well, to give them that opportunity in the spotlight to say, thank you for showing us to your audience and thank you for showing us to the country why we are such an important club. But, there's only so much I can do. There's only so much they can do. But when when it's 90 minutes are on the line and it's win or go home, and you try to extend that win by tying it and going into the extra time session, and if it doesn't happen there, then you go into the penalty kick shootout. And that's when it's really do or die, and that's when the nerves really start jingling and jangling. It is just amazing and awesome to see that happen. So all I can say is these games really do matter. In England, you'd like to see, it matters to those clubs and those leagues below the professional levels. The smallest of the smalls, taking on the bigs of the bigs and the mediums of the mediums. And that's why when CBS Sports made this deal with US Soccer, made this deal to show them what is going on, made this deal to show US Soccer we believe in the Open Cup. We want to show the Open Cup. We want to be a part of this beautiful cup competition, to give those clubs in the amateur levels the opportunity to be seen, to be heard, and to be discussed. That's why this show is here. That's why this show talks about the Open Cup. Since day one, I created this show back in March of 2010 on St. Patrick's Day. I know, me, a Jewish guy, interfering with the Catholic Irish Catholic holiday. St. Patrick. It was important for me to really come up and just say, I want to do this for you guys. Now, I'll admit, I wasn't even knowing about the whole qualification situation because it was just the rounds proper that I was really concentrating on. But when we get to the situation of now we're learning about how these amateur clubs are qualifying, why they're going, how they're going, because let's just remember when it was the Premier Development League, which is now USL League 2 in the USL, their first 3 to 4 games of their schedule doubled as Open Cup qualifiers. So whoever earned their points at the beginning of the season and they qualified for the Open Cup, that's how they got into the first round. With the amateur leagues, I don't know how it got started, but when then you're learning about Open Cup qualifying for the amateurs, that's when I'm thinking to myself, I really got to get into this. I really need to get into this. And I really need to pay attention and make sure that I know what is going on. But, you know, look, all I can say is that this is why I do this show. For all levels, all of the community of American soccer. That's why I do it. For the American soccer community. I hope you enjoy these shows. I really do hope that you enjoy them. I really hope that you are informed as much as I can. I really do hope that you enjoy what I talk about, and that is the Open Cup. And it's not just the Open Cup, it's everybody else up and down the American soccer landscape. MLS is all the way up here. We all know where the amateurs are down here. But it's everybody in between from top to bottom that I enjoy. I enjoy having these folks come in and talk about what's going on. Talking about their clubs, talking about their position, try to get as many people as I can, hopefully get players, hopefully get coaches, hopefully get owners in all levels, and talk about the Open Cup. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. And I cannot wait to see. And I just can't wait to have all of you join me. Well, it looks like we will not have Mr. Jerome Joseph on tonight. I guess something has come up. So we're going to move on now to my next guest, hopefully. And we were just talking earlier. He runs, of course, his own academy, which is Kalonji Soccer Academy, but the club is called Kalonji Pro Profile. Waiting for now for Mr. Bruno Kalonji to join me tonight, coming all the way from Lawrenceville, Georgia, as they also qualified for the U.S. Open Cup. And it's just, hopefully we'll have him on and we'll talk about everything that's going on. And so just waiting for my next guest to come in from Georgia. You know, they've had a bit of a run too. They've had a good run into the Open Cup. They've also had a first round bye. And, a very funny thing is this, because the funny thing is, I have a friend who I went to college with, and he was on the men's team for soccer. it was a Division III school. It's in New Jersey, of course, in Mahwah, Ramapo College. That's that's the college I attended, and that's where I got my whole broadcasting career got started in that sort of sense, doing the college game, Division III, and we're doing mostly at the time their home games, and then we started for a full season. Started doing not only home games but road games as well, and up and down New Jersey, New York, and anywhere else we were able to get to. So, and joining me now, he is the head of the Kalonji Soccer Academy. Of course, the club is called Kalonji Pro Profile. This is Mr. Bruno Kalonji joining me tonight. Bruno, thank you for your time and welcome to the show, and congratulations of qualifying for the Open Cup, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
It's great to have you on. So I have to ask you, I know you're based in Lawrenceville, Georgia. When did you start this academy, and how long has it been going for?
Well, the club started in 2014. So from 2014 until now. So the club started just as a youth club, KSA. We started in Georgia Soccer, and eventually years later moved into the MLS Next. That's where we're playing right now, in the MLS Next. And then about 4 years after I built the club, I started the Pro Profile, which was a team that play in the UPSL. So we actually started the UPSL in Georgia also. So we we initiated that league in Georgia, and then we've been playing in the UPSL since. We played there for several years, won a lot of league title there, and then we've been trying with the US Open Cup also several years. So.
Oh, that's fantastic! And you finally qualified. Is this the first time you've qualified, or the second time?
This is the first time advancing qualifying. Yes, this is the first time.
Yes, that's great to hear. And when you finally got that final whistle to blow in your favor in that final round, what was that feeling like to finally get to the tournament proper for next year?
Well, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was the right timing as well, because we integrated a lot of younger players in the league, so in the team. So it's important for them to get the exposure that it needs to move on forward, right? So we have a lot of 17, 18-year-olds in the team. So it's a great thing for us.
That's fantastic to hear. I'm very happy for you and happy for everyone in the area that you're going to be getting this opportunity this upcoming March. So it's going to be exciting to see, and hopefully we'll see who you'll be drawn against in the first round. Whenever US Soccer does announce it, we'll find out, of course. But it's really amazing. We're going to go through your route right now to the Open Cup tournament proper as we go ahead and take a look. And let me just get it. There we are. And here we go. So you had that first round bye for your club. Were you upset? You didn't mind it? Did you feel you need the extra time to train for the second round?
Yeah, actually, it was very well for us. The bye that we had, we're excited, so we knew what's coming up, and we had to get prepared. So it gave us a bit of time to prepare for it.
That's fantastic. And then you hosted, I believe it's pronounced Limenio FA?
Limenio, yes. Limenio, we hosted Limenio, one of the local clubs that we play in the UPSL against. And then, yes, we beat them that game. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 4-2 victory. Fantastic. How difficult were they against you, whether you played them at home or at their facility?
Yeah, it was not really I couldn't say it was difficult. Some of those teams that we played in the early stage, since we know them well from the league, we definitely know how to beat them, right? So given that we had a combination in those games of all of our young and older players, it wasn't very much so of a challenge. So we kind of knew the teams. So when we know the teams, it was a little bit easier that first game. So for us to move forward.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Then you took on Mint Hill from North Carolina, and you took them out pretty good, 4-0 at home. And What was that match like against
I,
them?
I can tell you that game was very difficult.
Mm.
The score definitely doesn't reflect the game. First of all, it was a team that we haven't seen, and then it was a team that played very well, very very well. So it was a cold day, a bit rainy, cold day for us, also cold for them, but they knew how to play soccer very well. So we would have been in trouble as the score would have gone differently. So what happened is, I guess Karim Timimi was on fire that day. You can understand every shot was a goal for Karim. So Karim came in and smacked 3 or 4 goals. I think he scored all the 4 goals. It was a fantastic performance for Karim, which really led us through, because besides that, if Karim was not on fire that day, I think we would have been in trouble. That's a very, very, very good team. That's one of the
Uh,
best teams
uh,
by far that we played, even in the UPSL.
no, that's amazing. I gotta tell you though, when you've got one guy, taking down the opposition all by himself, you're going to go through, man. That's just crazy. That's great to
Absolutely.
hear. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
then you finally did it. Potros FC at home. All games played at your facility. 1-0, edging them 1-0 at home. And of course, like I said already, the final whistle blew, and that signaled your qualification for the Open Cup. Potros, how difficult were they? Are they a team that we should be aware of as well?
Yeah, so Portos won the league, the UPSL on the other brackets. They never got to play us this season. We played them in the past, and we've been them quite a few times. They played against one of our local team also that is a bit affiliated with us, SSL. So we kind of got to see, know how they play as well. But it was more of a hype than anything else. So the team was not a big challenge. Like I told you, the biggest challenge was the Man City team. So they were the biggest challenge. So Portos was just a game that we knew we have to go through it. But at the end, I think I was pretty confident that we're going to come out victor in that game. So
Yeah, absolutely. So if I can ask you this, when everyone in the stands was watching, waiting with bated breath, yelling at the referee to blow your whistle already, end this already. We don't care how much stoppage time you've added, just blow your whistle. What was that feeling like in front of your own supporters that you were going to the Open Cup?
yeah, you saw it was a big number. So in that game was a big number. The last game that we played to qualify is a big number. So we brought in a lot of our parents, our families, and fans. So everybody was there. So it was a great feeling. Yeah, it was an amazing feeling. Qualifying and then taking that step to play professional team was an amazing feeling. Something that we've been looking forward to for a long time, and then hopefully creating a path for the future to keep going forward until one day maybe we win it. So this is our biggest dream. And then obviously that one of our biggest dream is to also meet Atlanta United, one of our local professional teams, so that the hope is to beat them also, and then to continue to advance. So we're going to start getting prepared in January for the
Mhm.
advancement. And we're going to take it very serious so we can try to advance as far as we can.
Absolutely. If I can ask you, like I said, we'll find out when the draw will be announced, and hopefully, we'll have you back on. So, we'll find out who you'll be playing against. But who would you like to play? I know you said Atlanta United down the road, obviously, but who would you like to face? And he shut the lights off. The lights are off in Bruno's place, unfortunately. Bruno, if you can hear me, hopefully you can get back in here. Uh, quickly if you can. Oh, and I saw a circle. See, he got so excited he turned off his own camera by mistake.
I've lost you a little
There
bit.
he is. There he is. There, I got you back. There we go. So whoop. Now, nope. There you go. There we go. Okay, you're back up.
I seem
So
to have lost you. Just a second.
tiny bit.
Yeah,
So as I was trying to
the
say,
camera.
yeah.
I
So if I can just say this, um, if I whoop, no, now he's gone. Darn it! Look, it happens sometimes. Unfortunately, these it happens. The excitement of getting to the Open Cup, and Well, nope, there he is. There we go. I think we
Yeah,
got him back
yeah,
on. There he
I
is.
couldn't hear you. I
There
couldn't
you
hear you.
are.
I couldn't hear you anymore.
You're so excited that you hit the off button by mistake. Or is
Yeah,
that Nasha calling you? I don't know.
yeah. No, I couldn't hear you. I was like, what? I've lost you
I
here.
know. No, just, you know.
Yeah, you're
So,
you're telling me
yes.
who would like to play in
Yes, who
the
would you like to play in your first round matchup? I know you want to play Atlanta United badly, and I know you're going to take it seriously, but there'll be somebody in between before you make that round. Who would you like to face? Maybe South
yeah.
Georgia Tormenta or
Yeah,
somebody
maybe
else?
any of them really. I mean, between Tormenta and any of the teams that are out there. So we're ready. Definitely Tormenta. It will be good experience to play them.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, the pro profile in the past, we've done quite a few scrimmages with USL championship teams and USL one. So the games are always very close. So if we put our best team out there, I think we have a chance against anybody. So it's going to be a challenging game. It's not going to be an easy game for anyone to play us. So, like I said, what Tormenta, I would like Tormenta for sure, but whoever falls in front of us will take on the challenge.
Exactly. Whatever falls in front of you, you'll take the challenge. Absolutely. Look, it's the luck of the draw, obviously, and hopefully you'll host a match. I would love to see if you can host that match.
Yes. We tried to host it with Shiloh, but we had a bit of difficulties with Shiloh because of the apparently the expansion of the size of the field. But we're trying to we've applied to host it at the Silverback. So I believe if we get it, it'll be great to play at the Silverback because we could draw a big number in that stadium.
Exactly. That should be a lot of fun. If there's, I was going to ask you about, of course, I know you're not related, but you are friends. My college friend Nasha, of course, his last name is also Kalonji. What did he call you? Did he say congratulations to you when you made the Open Cup?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Say congratulations. In fact, like I say, his older son, play with me for my under 19. So he's been around. So yes, Nash is very aware of our success and what we're doing. So he's very good coach. In fact, we played against him as well with our under 15. He has a very good team. So he's a tremendous coach and he was a tremendous player as well.
You know, he coached my high school. I didn't even know he was the high school's head coach until all of a sudden saw something online. I was like, oh my God. And I saw him training at one of the local parks. I pulled over and I came out and I saw him. And it was really good to see him again. You know, he was such a fierce striker. He was such a fierce
Yes.
striker. It was a great player. I'm obviously he only had maybe a couple of games in one season with the Metro Stars, which I was
Yeah.
happy for him that he made it. But you know, unfortunately, it just didn't last long. I know they got 2 assists that one
Yeah.
season. Didn't score yet, unfortunately, but they had him in a defensive
Yeah.
role, which he was not. That's the one thing I didn't curse out the coach. I didn't curse out the coach, but I was like, "What are you doing? He's a striker. Don't put him as a wing back. He's a striker.
Strike.
Come on." But you know,
Yes.
look, he obviously, you know, you do what the manager tells you to do. I understand, but
Yeah.
you know, myself, like, no, that's wrong. That should not be happening. But that's how I always felt. But
Absolutely.
anyway, Bruno, I appreciate your time. Go ahead, watch your avatar, and
Yeah.
with your kids. And thank you again. Good luck in the opening round, the Open Cup, and I hope to have you back on again next year. So thank
No,
you very
thank you.
much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
All right.
Bruno Kalonji of Kalonji Soccer Academy. The club is Kalonji Pro Profile as they advance to the U.S. Open Cup tournament proper. And just very, very happy that Bruno was able to come on tonight and ready to go. And we'll, you know, hopefully we'll have him back on at another time and we'll see what happens moving forward. So All I can say is, and yes, I'm getting, information comes very quickly, and very, very fast. And of course, as we now it's at 9 o'clock. Now we're going to have him on. Now we're ready for him now and ready to get on here. And so, waiting now for Mr. Paul Correia of Club Deportivo Faialense. Now, I've had him originally penciled for 8:15. I made the mistake. I goofed. I told him 8:30. I don't pay attention to my own freaking handwriting sometimes, so that's my fault. So hopefully we'll have him on now and ready to go. So it should be fun and it's gonna be exciting. And here he is right now. I owe him $20 to $30 for my mistake. Paul Correia from Club Deportivo Faialense. Paul, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Once again, my apologies. I have to watch what I write down next time I do this thing.
That's quite all right. Not a problem at all. I'm glad it worked out. And thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. So tell me about Faialense. Obviously, last year the club qualified for the Open Cup. Now you qualified again this year consecutively. What does it mean for this club to qualify for the our version of the FA Cup?
It means a lot. I mean, it means that all the sacrifices that the guys made throughout the year was worth it, right? I mean, we are a group of amateurs. We all have jobs full time, and we all hold each other accountable to come out on a weekly basis to put our best group out there for the U.S. Open Cup and for our amateur league. And it just means that, it just verifies what we think of ourselves, which is that we're a really good group of players and a really cohesive unit. And, it just sort of backs that up, that we that it's worth it. The work was worth it.
Absolutely. And you're going to get an opportunity to face some of these bigger clubs, possibility of Portland Hearts of Pine, maybe the Rhode Island FC, maybe Hartford Athletic. You never know who you'll be drawn with. And does that really, get everyone's juices flowing that this might be your opportunity to face these professional clubs above you from the New England region?
Yeah, certainly. And we have experience with Portland last year. Obviously, we lost 4-0 in that game. And I think we learned a lot. As we were entering qualifying for the U.S. Open Cup this year, I told the guys before our first qualifying match, I said, look, like, my goal this year is to do one better than we did last year. To learn from the mistakes that we made in terms of our prep and just sort of how naive we may have been on what we were getting ourselves into, and just try to do one better. Because I think I can speak for all of the guys that walking off that field, that you just kind of felt like we could have done better than this. Could we have won? Not saying that, but we definitely could have showed ourselves a lot better. And irrespective of who we play, we know it's going to be the best team that any of us are going to face probably for the rest of our lives, maybe in terms of our soccer careers. And it's going to be the biggest test for all of us. So we're preparing already for that. Our preparations already are a lot different than they were last year. And I think everybody, in the 18-man roster knows what we're in for, and it's going to be a grind and sort of, and we're ready to kind of take it on again, and just hope for a better showing and see what we can do.
Exactly. Talking about the Bay State Soccer League, how competitive is it? I mean, I'm from New York myself, so I know what goes on in the 5 boroughs, Long Island, Westchester County, in northern New Jersey. But how competitive is the Bay State Soccer League?
It's really competitive. I mean, Boston's a hub of a lot of different industries, and you have a lot of college kids that played at a very high level, come to the city for work, and they're all looking for a place to play. And so naturally the BSSL is filled with just a lot of Division I, top tier talent. we're blessed. Honestly, we are fortunate to have just a great network of guys that, word of mouth, I know a guy, and we never really have to solicit for players because all of our guys are kind of working on it every year. As the new crop of college graduates that don't make it to the professional ranks move into the city, we're ready for them, and we're always have a spot open just to see what they can do. And but in general, the BSSL is very competitive. We won the league 2 years in a row, finished second this year, unfortunately. But yeah, it just goes to show how competitive it is that a team like us that qualified for the Open Cup twice didn't win the league. So.
No, exactly. Well, let's go ahead and review your qualification route now. You had that first round bye. Did you feel that was a hindrance, or did that help you prepare further for their next round matchup?
I think it was just it was what it was, and wasn't a hindrance, or it didn't really help. We were eager to get started, but obviously the less games that you have to play, sometimes it's the better. And we were just ready to go for round two.
Absolutely. You took on Project Football at home, and you took them out pretty good, 5-0 at your place. Just what was it about that match that you felt you had the advantage?
I just think that we came out with the right approach. I kind of told the guys before the game started that you're going to have a chance to score within the first 10 minutes of the game. It's just, I could tell in warm-ups, I could tell just leading up to it, how enthusiastic everyone was entering the facility. I was like, you guys are jacked up, and you're going to get a chance within the first 10, 15 minutes, bury it, and then go from there. And so that's sort of what happened. Honestly, we started out on fire, and we just kind of took it to them. In credit to our guys to kind of just keep a clean sheet. And, it was funny. I think it was 5-0, and our goalkeeper made just a tremendous save off a long shot from one of their players and celebrated as if the game was 0-0 and we were headed to extras. So, I mean, it just goes to show you sort of how enthusiastic the group was to get going.
Exactly. Your next match in the third round, a very difficult opponent in Brockton FC United. I don't have to tell you about them because I think you've seen them probably a lot of times. They have qualified for the Open Cup in the past. They're one of the better sides in Massachusetts as well. Not to take away from your club, of course, but from what I've seen, they've been one of the stronger sides in the Boston area, or at least in the surrounding area of Boston. But to beat them at their place 1-0 away was amazing to see.
That was just a crazy game. To win that game in the 118th minute. As you said, Brockton is just a tremendous squad filled with athletes all over the pitch. They challenged us on everything, every blade of grass. They were just giving us everything that we could take. We were fortunate that they didn't put away some of their chances. But again, I just credit my guys because we just kind of know how to dig in and to stay organized and do whatever it takes to get one over the line. And that's what we did that night. Honestly, I felt as though walking off that field, that was the qualifying one. That was the qualifying round. That was the one that was like whoever won that was going to qualify for the Open Cup. That was just how I felt walking out of there. And again, we were a bit fortunate to kind of get the result, but at the same time, I think it just is a testament to the group's camaraderie and just how much they're willing to kind of dig in and fight for one another. It was really great to see some of the defensive stuff we were doing, and yeah, just we frustrated them in overtime and got that winner. They got a red card late in that, which kind of sealed it for us, because then they were playing a man down. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Before we get to your last match, do you remember when they hosted Chicago House and the lights were not on because the park manager forgot to come in and unlock the shed to turn the lights on, and they had to play. They had to go all the way to penalties at the twilight to see who was going to win that game. I'm not kidding. I watched that on the computer. I'm like, are you crazy? What the hell's going on here? I mean, they're gonna suspend this game and finish it the next day? Nope, gotta play it.
And I was worried that was going to happen again. I don't think the lights came on until, say the game was at 7, I forget, but didn't come on until 7 on the dot. So I was a little concerned about that myself. But yeah, when you're traveling, to their place as well, like it's going to be you're going to get some of that. There's going to be some chaos. And again, that's one of the things I told the team. It's like, it's going to be chaotic and you need to just withstand all of it as best you can and just ignore it. Because if you start to let it affect you, you're in for a really long day. I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago, we had tried to qualify for Open Cup for the first time. We won our first game. We got paired up with them, I think, for the following round. And again, naive as we were, we showed up with 11 guys and we took a 2-0 lead, and then they came back and won 3-2, and they went on to qualify for the U.S. Open Cup that year.
Yeah.
So, they're just always a great team. It's always a fun battle, and it's funny because it's super hyper competitive. But as soon as the whistle blows, everyone's shaking hands, congratulating one another, and it's nice to see.
Exactly, really is. And then you took on, I believe you were hosting Lone Star GPSC out of New Hampshire. At your place, 5-2 victory. And I mean, obviously great performance. Everyone was on point. You got your goals. You just were ready for the shouting, waiting for that final whistle to blow. And when it finally did, what was that feeling like in front of your own fans that you were going to the Open Cup again?
It's funny. We were actually the away team, but we did bring the majority of the supporters, though. So I think if you watched it at all on VO Live or wherever it was, you would have thought it was a home game for us. It was awesome. It was awesome. There's that, again, similar to the second round rather against Project Football. I kind of knew we were going to have some chances. Like we were going to be able to create chances, and it was just really incumbent upon us to finish what we had in front of us. We saw them play against Atletico Boston, which is a really good team in the Bay State Soccer League. We were surprised, honestly, that Atletico Boston lost that game. We were almost penciling them in for round 4 for the U.S. Open Cup, and because they always give us such a tough time. When it was Lone Star, it was just an immediate, attention shift and just a mood shift to say, okay, this is who we're playing. We have to be ready for this. This is going to be the best team we're going to play. But we were able to see them on some tape. And again, I just really liked our chances against the team because of how organized we are and for the quality that we have sort of all over the field. And yeah, we had some chances early. We were able to finish. Max Kraus, who's our real standout player in midfield, just had himself a day. 2 goals, 2 assists. One was an absolute worldie. So it was a great night, and it caps off with such a cool moment where they unveil the banner telling you qualified, get a great picture with the group. And then you're immediately, here we go. I guess we're going back.
Yes, you are. You're heading back, and you're heading to the Open Cup. And it's just exciting to see that happen. And I'm happy for you guys. I'm happy that you're making it to the Open Cup. So who are you looking forward to? Like I said, I know I rattled out those professional sides from, the New England region, obviously. But if you don't get Portland, who would you rather face in the opening round?
It's funny. I don't know if we're in the position to say who we'd rather face. Whoever it is, it's going to be a really cool opportunity for us to showcase our talent and how good of soccer players we are on a pretty impressive stage. Either way you look at it, we're on the road. We're probably playing in a stadium that's either a 5,000 seater or a 10,000 seater, if I had to guess. And that's kind of sweet. Against Portland last year, it was 4,000, I think 400 in attendance, and I could barely hear myself think. More than double that, I don't know what I would do. I might need a megaphone to communicate with my guys. So we're looking forward to whoever it is. We're eager to see what the draw brings us in January. Like I said, we've already kind of started our preparation as early as it is, just trying to make sure that we can show ourselves better than we did last year at this stage,
Exactly. For some of us, as we get ready for March for that first round proper matchup, who should we expect to see for your club in that first round? Who should we your best players? striker, keeper, defender, midfielder? Who should who should we be looking for?
Yeah, I guess I'll give you defender, midfielder, and striker maybe, and go from there. But again, we're blessed with a lot of great players. We actually have a recent graduate from Holy Cross, Connor Bagden, who's been instrumental for us in this qualifying run at the back. He's been just a breath of fresh air, very physical, very, very good with the ball, tenacious defender. Really just is one of those defenders that does not like to get beat, and you can tell. So that's probably one to watch. At the back, in the midfield, it's like picking between your kids, because I love all of them very, very much. They do so many great things for us, and they each do what they do so well. But if I have to go back, it's Max Kraus. He's what makes us tick. He is by far and away one of the more technically gifted players I've ever seen. Can cross the ball with his left foot, can cross the ball with his right foot, has every finish in his locker, has every pass in his locker. We didn't have him against Portland. He was sorely missed. And we're looking forward to giving him an opportunity to showcase just how good he is on the next round.
Mm-hmm.
And again, up front, similarly, we have a lot of awesome players, but one guy that we picked up in the fall for our amateur league, and then also came with us to Open Cup, was Martin Vissian, who played most recently at University of North Carolina, our big number 9. Just can score in droves. Once he gets one, there's another one right behind it. Very good with his link-up play. And yeah, just that almost traditional number 9, but is mobile as well.
No, that's fantastic to hear. And listen, Paul, I can say is this, I'm happy for you guys. You qualified consecutively for the Open Cup. I'm excited for January when the draw is announced, who you'll be playing, and I'm hoping you'll get yourselves a couple of rounds in, get on a run here, be the next Christos FC. Be the next Christos FC if you can, because that would be exciting to see if you can get all the way to as deep as you can in this tournament.
That's the goal. I mean, as much as we do this for fun, and we love it. We love doing it. We are very competitive people, and we're not going to go there to just go there. We're going to try to do as best we can, and hopefully, surprise some people with our performance.
Exactly, Paul. I always appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Good luck again. And that's my bad with the time.
You're forgiven.
Thank you.
I needed a couple extra minutes to get my little guy to sleep anyway, so don't worry about it.
That's fine. Look. I help you out. I had these sixth sense of these things.
That's what it was. I love it. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Paul. Have a good night. Paul Correia from Club Deportivo Faialense joining us tonight to talk about his club qualifying for the Open Cup. So let's go ahead and do the rest of them, since that's all the guests we're going to have on tonight. So let's quickly go and show you the Virginia Dream, how they qualified through the Open Cup. They also had a first round bye. Normally part of the NPSL, they went through the UPSL in the Virginia North Division. They got that first round bye, and then took on Dorados FC away for a 2-1 victory. Then they took on from the Washington, D.C. Gorilla FC with a 6-1 home victory. And then Maryland's MSI Pro 2-0 away on the road. So for Virginia Dream, they are back in the Open Cup. And now we go on to the next club that will be also going to the Open Cup. That will be Valley 559 FC. They also had a first round bye and took on Real San Jose at home, defeated them 2-1, and then the third round back home, defeated FC Folsom 5-2 at home, then traveled to Washington State to take on Ballard FC just outside of Seattle, and that was a victory with a 1-0 victory away up in Washington State. Of course, they play in the NorCal South Division of the UPSL, based out of Fresno, California. And then, of course, you have the next one we're going to visit, and that will be Red Force FC. Of course, I live in Sunny Isles Beach. They're just behind me and north of me in Aventura, Florida, part of the Premier Football League. They qualified, Red Force FC, for the for the Open Cup once again, first round bye, and then played Atletico Miami Internacional 4-3 away. And then their third round, they traveled down south to play Miami Soccer Academy. That was away, and a 2-1 victory for them. And then they were hosting City Soccer FC, and that's a 4-1 victory for them, moving forward and getting back into the Open Cup. And then finally, again, from the from the state of Florida, but from the Orlando area, FC America CFL Spurs, based in the UPSL's Florida Central Division, once again out of Orlando, Florida. They also had that first round bye. They defeated Pinellas County Pelicans away at their place, 3-1. Then they had the Orlando Derby against Emerald Orlando. It was a CFL Spurs wedding, 7-0 away at Emerald Orlando. And then they traveled at Harbor City FC. It was 1-1 through regulation, extra time, but in the penalty kick shootout, it was a 5-4 win for FC America CFL Spurs. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this show tonight. I do want to thank my guests. I want to thank Bruno Kalonji from the Kalonji Soccer Academy, of course, the Kalonji Pro Profile Club. I also want to thank Paul Correia from Club Deportivo Faialense. And from the National Premier Soccer League, I want to thank the chairman of the NPSL, Stephen Wagoner, joining me from his home in Virginia Beach. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. Join me for another episode of the regular Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. And as always, my friends, please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care so long, and have a good night. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.